Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, ships at sea, it is time for this week's episode of Property of the Week from PropertyLens. As always, in case you don't know, I'm Bob Frady, founder and CEO of PropertyLens, and with me, as always, is
John Siegman, president and co-founder of PropertyLens.
So, John, one of your friends said, "Hey, I'm going house hunting in Phoenix this weekend. You know, what can you tell me?"
Scottsdale, actually.
Scottsdale. So what we decided to do was just to pick a random property, something that looks nice, and say, I wonder what PropertyLens has to say about this property. And we pick out East Cortez Drive in Scottsdale, Arizona. Don't know this from a hole in the wall. Just picked it somewhat at random because, you know, it looks like the kind of house that might be nice to buy. You know, it's all redone and all that good stuff. Looks cool. Been on the market for a long time, but it looks pretty cool.
It's almost a year.
I know. Well, I don't know what the story was, but, you know, and you look down in the description and what does it say? Incredibly rare, brand new, sparkling, blah, blah, blah. Nice entertainer's paradise, you know, community amenities, Scottsdale luxury. And you go down to all the stuff and there's price decreases and there's taxes, permits, and no weather except for heat. So that's what you get from realtor.com. What do you get from propertylens.com? Now, for those of you who've seen this before, this is what your My PropertyLens portal looks at. We look at a lot of different houses, so there's a lot of different houses in here. East Cortez Drive, Scottsdale, Arizona, the exact same property that we saw before. And we're going to go and do this report. Okay, what's the first thing you notice about this house, John?
It has had 4 owners in the last 15 years.
Okay.
It's in a flood zone.
Ta-da!
It's had 6 possible damaging events. Those would be my 3 key ones. Hey, property taxes went down. That must be a fluke.
It's a flip.
It's a flip. Whoa, there we go. That's another cause. But look at this. Your repair costs are estimated to be very low.
Yep.
Over the next 2 years. So if the work was done right, not necessarily a bad thing, but a 10% increase per year over the last 6 years for homeowners insurance? Ay caramba.
Then you're in Bob Frady territory there. Because we'll talk about that at some other point.
We got a size discrepancy.
What's that telling us?
Well, it's saying that the listing square footage and what the county assessor has for square footage might not necessarily be the same.
Now, in some places, that's because of finished basements, but what don't you have a lot of in Scottsdale, Arizona?
Finished basements or any
Finished
basement.
Basements, correct.
I want to find out what's going on there. That might be unpermitted, might be permitted. Given the age of the house, something may have been permitted along the way, but they don't have permit records going back that far, and they never updated it. So there's a couple questions you want to ask.
But what are some of the nice things about this house?
Well, you got the mountain view, low crime. It's in a community with amenities, Scottsdale Country Club, water and golf course views. Water might be the one thing to be concerned about there, especially if that view comes into your living room. It's in the burbs, so it's convenient to things. It's got its own pool. Oh, you got a putting green. This screams Bob Frady all over it, quite honestly.
I know. That's why I picked it.
Walk-in
because I saw the
wine
picture. I'm
room.
like, ooh, I'd like to have something like that.
Hip roof. The roof's in good shape. You're in a golf course community. People write this down. You may send Bob his retirement cards to this address.
There you go. There's about $1,700 of repair costs, estimated very low because it is a flip. So they've done a lot of improvements, but we do see the annual insurance premium to be estimated to be about $6,000 a year. Lots of increases in cost for Arizona and about $6,000 a year, which is fairly high compared to a lot of other places. So, you know, you got to walk into this place. What are some of the questions that you want to ask?
Well, you got to ask about flood. You know, what did all the things that they do to it and how much of it required a permit? How much was, you know, like for like, so it didn't require a permit? Yeah, what did they do to the plumbing system? Yeah, how deep did they go with this? Is it just a cosmetic flip or did they get into some of the bones?
So when you look at the buyer lens and the expected 2-year costs, the one thing that sticks out is the water heater. And that's the question we would ask is, has the water heater been replaced? Because if it is, then you take $1,400 off of your estimated repair costs.
Yep.
And then the other is, has it been tinted? Because termites love the desert Southwest. Now, what's interesting about this is a FEMA 500-year flood zone, not a FEMA 100-year flood zone. You are not required to report a FEMA 500-year flood zone if you're getting a mortgage. You're only required to report a 100-year flood zone. So what happens in the real estate listing? Nobody's saying it. Nobody says anything about it. But you do have hay boobs or something like that there in Phoenix where the clouds come in the wintertime and tremendous amounts of rain in short periods of time. And a lot of stuff that normally would be dry as a bone, flash floods. And that's where you're going to find a lot of the 500-year flood zone indicators. So this place does have some risk of flood, which is not disclosed anywhere else. And questions you should be asking to say, what are you doing about this risk? Have you done anything to help prevent the risk of flood?
Didn't you have a friend who moved to Houston and moved into a 500-year flood zone?
Yep. And we said, you should get flood insurance for this house. And she said, okay. And then the rains came and their house flooded and they recovered because of the information that we gave them about that house.
And they were the only ones in their neighborhood with flood insurance.
Yep. Everybody else is like, there's no danger of flood. It's like, yeah, there is. Some people would say every house is susceptible to flood, but some are much more susceptible than others. So that's something that isn't disclosed anywhere on the real estate listing. We've got some arsenic in the groundwater. You want to make sure that you're getting your groundwater tested. Yeah, it's a little bit extra test, but hey, listen, I didn't get my groundwater tested. It is full of arsenic. Oh boy, now what do? I wish I'd spent the $250 on a water test before I spent that $1.3 million on the house. It's like, or $300,000 on the house, because now I've got arsenic poisoning. No one loves that. High risk of hail. John, what do you do about hail risk?
Definitely have a fortified roof. This house has a tile roof that is fortified as you can get. The real risk here is the number of events and the size. Size is what matters. I know a lot of people say it doesn't, but yes, it does, at least in the case of hail. And if it's pea-sized hail and it happens once a week, nobody cares. But if it's golf ball sized hail or baseball sized hail and it happens once every other year, that's a lot to deal with. So you want to check that, and we give you those stats right there in the report.
Yep. From an insurance standpoint, there's quite a range of insurance costs. So you want to make sure that you get a quote before you decide to buy this house. $5,958 is a midpoint, as low as $2,100, as high as $9,300, depending upon carriers' filing rates in that area, with a replacement cost which is approximately the same size as the property costs, which is higher than you would normally expect for a house that costs $1.3 million or $1.399. Here's the ownership. It was sold in July of 2024. Looks like a flip, and now it's listed in November of 2024 and has been sitting on the market since that time.
That's a long time. They're looking to make $400K. I hope they put 400 into it.
Yep. There's your property taxes, and a lot of that is because we don't have property tax data for 2025, so that does throw off the calculations for the system. Here's all the pictures. It looks pretty, looks pretty, all that good stuff. Here's the neighborhood. Here's damaging events.
But if that's it over the last 14 years, it's not that big a threat.
It's not too bad. So the roof looks like the same roof. You can go back in time and look at multiple images of the roof. It looks like it's original to the house, but the lifespan for this tile roof is 80 years. So you're good to go when it comes to this roof. It's in really good condition. It's got relatively low exposure outside of some hail risk. It is tile roof in a hip shape. Let's see, structural. You get a little bit of water hardness here, which can lower the life of your plumbing stuff. So maybe you want to get a water softening system. Maybe you don't, but it's something you want to keep an eye out on. Otherwise, the soil's good. No mines nearby. You're not gonna get a
It's
lot of
all
frost
good.
heaving. Yeah, it's all good.
Hey, they got some permits.
Yep. Got a building permit in October of 2024. The
Okay, so the
valuation was
remodel was permitted.
yep,
They did something with the pool
yep,
and spa. So they probably either installed that or redid a pool and spa that were already there.
and they had solar. A green permit was issued in 2010. It looks like it's not on there anymore. So here's a flood. Not in a 100-year flood zone. Is it a 500-year flood zone? We do recommend that you get insurance. Now, listen, the risk may be low, but it's in the zone. You can roll the dice if you want to, but be prepared that some water might be coming into your house.
Well, you got the lake right there, and lots of golf courses are actually in floodways. So, you know, it's close. You'd have to make the call. But if your house is sitting significantly higher, maybe it's not that big a concern.
Yep. No loamers or loamers. The risks that you get are hail. Now, what's interesting about this is the expected annual loss is high, the frequency is relatively high, but the historic loss is very low. We saw this recently in a wildfire in California where it had the same basic grades as this does right here. And the historic loss ratio was low. And people go, never happened here before, as long as I've lived here. And this is exactly why they're not prepared, is because they just look at what's happened in the past and not what the formations are for this area. So it's relatively high risk of hail, with
Are
a
you saying
relatively
past
low loss
performance does
experience.
not necessarily indicate future performance?
Your mileage may differ. Absolutely. Relatively low earthquake, mild earthquake. Don't be surprised if you feel some shaking. It is near the mountains in Scottsdale, and wherever there's mountains, there's some earthquake risk. And again, low um, prior um, experience, but everything else pretty good. You know,
Pretty
pretty
clean.
straightforward. Crime is okay. It's not bad. It's moderate. America's a very safe country, but it is relatively moderate. No sex offenders nearby, which is nice. At least none reported. You're not going to be walking to the supermarket from this house.
Well, actually, that's might be the only way you're going to get there because you can't take the bus.
Exactly.
Disaster resilience low. Most cities aren't prepared. It's just the way that it is, especially in areas where you don't get events. They don't necessarily need to be prepared for them. Walkability is actually okay. There is some airport noise. So, when the wind is blowing towards you, you're probably in the flight path. But other than that, it's pretty clean.
Here's the neighborhood points of interest. There's a seminary nearby, not too far away at all. And your Tesla supercharger is only 8/10 of a mile away, which is lovely. Talk exposure. There's a little bit of elevated radon. It's not probably much to worry about. For this location, low mold and low PFAS scores. This is one of the places where we see actually low PFAS scores or
There you
PFAs,
go.
excuse me.
Like it.
So that does exist. There are some contaminated sites nearby, but nothing too crazy. Um, Nothing really nearby. Emergency response, law response, medical response, all pretty good. You've got proximity to fire departments, only a mile away, as well as hospitals are close to nearby. Uh, Estimated electricity costs are relatively high. It's Phoenix. Come on, what do you expect? And
You're
you
using
can,
it.
yep, you can save money if you haven't done it yet.
Now's your
Time's a
time.
wasting. Now's your time, and this is a 6-year payback on solar, which is really low. Your utility uses all sorts of different electricity sources. Here we go for insurance. Hail is a little bit of a concern. And if you want to get a quote, hey, look at that. We got lots of people who want to quote you.
Lots of people who want to quote you.
And then we're finally into the timeline. So, John, given all of this information, what are the top 3 things that you would be looking for at 8133 East Cortez Drive?
Well, in looking at 8133 East Cortez Drive, the first thing that I would want to know is what are the comps in the space? Is my house outsized from the pricing? Because it previously sold for 900. Maybe it was a little bit in disrepair. Don't know. But 1.3 may be, 50% over current market. And so the first thing I want to find out is, what the rest of the neighborhood looks like it's selling for. Because that one is going to be important to me. Why is this house sat on the market for almost a year? It's not, typical of a flip property. So, the idea behind a flip property is not to own it for a long time. And they're owning it for a long time. So that would be my first concern. My second concern would be, okay, 500-year flood zone, 1 in 500-year chance, which doesn't mean it's going to happen every 500 years. Could happen 3 years in a row and then not happen for 1,500 years. That's how statistics work, people. So I would be looking into the cost of a flood insurance policy. It's going to be cheap. Just because it's not in a flood zone. That'd be the number 2 thing for me. And then number 3, it's Phoenix, so it's hot. That's not telling you a whole lot. I think I would just want to make sure that I hired, I might even hire a contractor for this and have a contractor walk through, look at everything that was new and make sure that it was really done up to snuff. I think this is a little bit, I'm still going to have my house inspector come through and do all the things that they do and, check everything, make sure everything works. But I'm going to want to bring in a contractor to take a look at the work that was done. Those would be my 3 things.
When I look at 8133 East Cortez Drive, from a PropertyLens standpoint, I kind of love this house. It's relatively clean. It's a recent renovation, and it's nice. It looks beautiful. The question is it's a flip. So number 1 for me is, like you said, why has this been on the market so long? Is it too highly priced for the marketplace? So that's number 1. Number 2 is, what's the quality of the work that's been done on the flip? It looks pretty, but is it covering up things that haven't been done before? Because, a lot of times when people do a flip, they'll brag about what's been done. And I don't see a lot of bragging on the listing in this one. When was the water heater replaced? Was the electrical system replaced? What actually was done in the flip? And then the third thing is, how close is the nearest hospital? Because it's Phoenix and you're basically in heaven's waiting room. So I want to make sure I'm close to a facility. When it's about a mile away, I want to do the drive just to make sure I can make it there. But otherwise, I kind of love it. This has Bob Frady house written all over it. It's nice. It's near a country club. It's got recently renovated, and yeah, maybe you can handle on the price a little bit. It looks really good. There is some minor league flood concern for sure. Is there a drain around the property that can help to drain some of that extra water away? But otherwise, I think it looks good. I would be very confident walking in here saying, I love your house. I don't love the price. Offer a lower price and see where you end up.
All right. Well, tune in next week when we find out if Bob's bought this house.
If it wasn't for my better half not liking the desert, I'd be down there visiting this place in no time at all.
The desert in the winter is not the desert.
It's cold in Phoenix in the wintertime. So it's chilly. You got to wear a sweater and stuff like that. It's like, if I'm
Just
wearing,
from a guy who's sitting in Minnesota, which apparently is a paradise during winter.
hey, listen, 1 layer versus 4, you're still wearing layers. All that means is you do a little bit more laundry. So There we go. 8133 East Cortez Drive, Scottsdale, Arizona. Good luck to the sellers on this one. It looks like a beautiful property. Yeah, it's got a few issues on it, stuff you might want to be aware of and ask them about. Because here's the thing. If you walk in asking these questions, I bet you're going to get a better deal than if you don't ask these questions and just rely on price negotiation. Because you can say, hey, these are the things that lead me to a lower price. So for this week's episode of Property of the Week, I'm Bob Frady.
I'm John Siegman.
And if you haven't yet, make sure you click the subscribe button. It makes us feel better about ourselves.
And if you want to see a certain property, send it to us. We're happy to run it.
Till next time.